Joining me now, Democratic Congresswoman Ayanna Pressley of Massachusetts. She is a member of the House Oversight Committee and a member of the Congressional Black Caucus. Representative Pressley, good to see you. You were booked to be on the show, and I'm grateful for it. Before this happened, I did not expect to be talking to you about another black man dead at the hands of police, and I cannot overstate this enough. The phone call was for a man asleep in his car. We see 25 minutes of peaceful interaction between him and police. But it begs the question, why are we calling police for these things? Why are armed people responding? Why, if they have his car and his license and know who he is, did he need to be in handcuffs? When I grew up in Toronto, when they pulled somebody over for drinking, they gave him a taxi chit to get home. Why does this happen this way?
You know, I'll just say that to wake up to this news again, and just yesterday there was a vigil in my community mourning the lives of two black trans women. It just is a fire hose that we're drinking from daily of insult and assault and devastation. Black folks are gutted. We are exhausted. I think every day about my 11-year-old daughter and how I would like to pass along to her generational wisdom and wealth and joy instead of generational fear and trauma. And so we're gutted and we are exhausted, but we are resolved. This is a tipping point.
I want to ask you about something you said, and I think it's something that a lot of allies to the cause are struggling with, and that this is not a few bad apples. This is a systemic problem. You said it will mean we have to be intentional, deliberate, and unapologetic about calling out structural racism for what it is, white supremacy.
That's right.
It will call on us to legislate with an equity lens in everything, not just police reform. It means examining our housing policies, our lending policies, our criminal legal system top to bottom, our healthcare system, and on and on. Tell me why this is such an important message for people to get.
Sure, Ali. Well, you know, first and foremost, the unrest that we see in our streets has everything to do with the unrest that Black Americans experience in their lives across every issue, every single day. Disproportionate hurt and harm. Black lives have been devalued from the very inception of this country. And so from Jim Crow to redlining, there have been a confluence of discriminatory and draconian laws. This has been legislated, hate, hurt, and harm, disproportionately put on in a targeted way, Black communities. And so the response must be one that is also targeted and very precise. And if we're going to say that Black lives matter, then that means that justice for Black lives that we have been robbed of matters. And that's exactly why I've introduced with Representative Amash a bill to end qualified immunity. Created by the Supreme Court, these protections have allowed officers who engage in egregious misconduct and brutality, who with impunity have callous disregard for human life, for Black lives, and there has been no consequence, no retribution, no justice. And so this is one way that I think we begin to be precise and targeted. And of course, what's happening in the streets is not just about police accountability. It is about every issue writ large. So if you say that Black lives matter, then that means Black business matters. That means that Black scholars matter. That means that people getting Black business owners having contracts on the city level. Across the board, we need to be precise and very specific.
Congresswoman, I work for a private company. You work for the public. You work for the taxpayers. Police work for the taxpayers. Police serve at the mercy of taxpayers. And it is something that, for some reason, police, and in many cases their unions, are having difficulty understanding. They are public servants.
Absolutely. What I would just say about that is that we cannot allow the narrative of the defund movement to be co-opted. What we're talking about is the investment of community. And as I said, there has been targeted hate, hurt, and harm put on Black communities, legislated. And it's also about the divestment in meeting the basic needs of community. I'm not new to this issue. I've been in Congress for 2 years, but I served on the Boston City Council for 8 years. And it's exactly why I voted down 3 budgets, because I was not going to put more school police in our schools rather than school nurses. And these are the sorts of unjust choices that are being made in municipalities and on the state level and on the federal level every day. So if Black Lives Matter, that must both be reflected in our policies, which is why we need to end qualified immunity. We need to ensure that the Saving Our Street bill, introduced myself and Senator Harris, is included in the next relief bill. More than 40% of Black businesses may not reopen post-COVID. It's why we need to pass my End Push Out Act, which is about the criminalization of Black girls in our schools. We need to make these investments. And let me just say this, our first responders, they have a role to play in society, but they don't need to be playing a role in every part of society, and they don't want to be. Why are they administering Narcan? We need to be investing in on-demand treatment and substance use. Why are they being deployed to the home of someone that has a mental health challenge? We should be deploying a mental health clinician there. Why do we have school police when we should be investing in social emotional wellness supports, social workers, school nurses, psychotherapists? The bottom line is we know what works. We know what will center the humanity and the dignity and ensure that Black folks are not just surviving, but that they are thriving, but we don't fund it. And so this is about that. This is about funding and investing in our communities.
Yep. I remind you, there are some people who still have trouble saying Black Lives Matter, never mind putting into action all of the various aspects of it that you are just describing. So we have some road to go, Congresswoman. Thank you for being with me again. Thank you for your work on this front. Congresswoman Ayanna Pressley is a Democrat from Massachusetts.